Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out the GitGud Course. Instead of just understanding concepts, you'll learn how to implement them directly into your driving. What makes it effective is the approach and practical drills. Together, we're gonna focus on breaking down those complex concepts into small digestible bits that are simple to understand. Everything from the course was tested and refined during the years in coaching sessions, so what I ended up with was the ones that I saw were the most effective. Let's elevate your racing skills together. Now for the track guide. Before starting, if you enjoyed this content, giving it a like and a subscribe is a free way to support the channel as I can continue to create more videos like this. Now going into the track guide itself, for turn 1 my reference for braking is the 50-meter board. I want to brake whenever 50-meter board is gonna be out of my vision, but also super important, don't brake on this curb right here, it will just make the braking harder and less efficient since the tire won't make contact with the tarmac at all times. So whenever the 50 is out of my vision, like right now, I'm applying the brakes and I'm looking mostly around the right part of the track. I want to apex late. Notice how long this corner is. So while going at the corner, I don't want to hit it here early in the beginning of the curb. Instead, I'm looking around here, around this part, because this is the part where I want to put my tire on it, around here. And in my opinion, it's better to stay tight around here. It's gonna be a bit more consistent, because if you will carry a bit more speed and you will track out more towards the left side, then you will travel a longer distance, but at the same time the next corner comes so quickly that you might not have enough time to reposition. So keeping it tight around here, mounting the curb and putting the throttle on it, 0-100 very quickly, and notice that the brake shape and the throttle shape, they both come together at the same time, so that whenever I'm off the brakes, I'm on the throttle. Don't have a gap in your inputs here, because you're going uphill, you need a good acceleration phase. Positioning all the way to the right side, and while using this curb, you have to mount it all the way to the grass on the right side. You have to turn into this corner with 1% brakes. You can even not brake, but it will be a bit efficient if you just add just a bit of brake. In my case, I'm adding 2%, 3% on the brakes while turning, and I'm looking at this yellow anti-curbs. I want to go very close to them, and the moment that I'm, even before hitting the first one, I'm pushing the throttle again. And my objective right now in this chicane is to get the rotation with the throttle, and this is something that you have to pay attention. Because what I'm doing here, I'm putting to 100% throttle in between the corners. Firstly, you will gain a bit because your minimum speed up in this section will increase if you hit that 100, so this should be an objective. But the second benefit of doing this is that now the car will start sliding. Now the rear tires will be less grippy because you're coming off the left-hander. Now you're pushing towards the left side, as you can notice my steering wheel angle, and with 100% throttle the platform of the car will start to slide a bit towards the left, which is exactly what you want, because you can get a bit of the rotation with the throttle here, because you will make the rears a bit more unstable on purpose. You will induce a bit of oversteer, and now you will be a bit more towards the left side. And when you're transitioning for this part and take the right-hander with 100% throttle on, when you will do this lift from 100 to 0 and then add 2% brakes, this lift will make the car turn more, because we stayed at 100% throttle. We increase the energy of the rear springs, we store some energy there. The rears were already sliding a bit on the exit of the first corner of the chicane, and now when you're doing the lift, you're bringing all that energy from the rear to the front tires. And because the car is already starting to turn and is already pointed because of that little oversteer we induced, now it will turn even more. So you can get away here with just 1 millisecond on the brake and then pushing the throttle aggressively like this, using all the track on the exit. And the next chicane is exactly the same in terms of concepts. You're using all the track all the way toward the grass. I'm braking very close to this next corner. You see, this is the arrow on the left side. I'm braking before the arrow, so quite close to the apex. looking at the curb, barely touching the brakes 20%, but the only difference here compared with the previous chicane is that for the entry you have to hold the brakes a bit longer. This is a bit sharper, this corner is a bit sharper than the previous one, and because of that you have to trail brake a bit more. So I'm still on the brakes up until I get to this yellow sausage curb. Slightly past it, now I'm pushing the throttle very aggressively, 100% again. So you see, we're trying to think in 0-100 with what we're doing with our throttle input. So 100% throttle again, and now when I'm doing the lift to 0, 1% on the brakes and back to 100, car turns a lot. So this is the main thing that you have to focus on, those chicanes. Now going into the next right-hander, high-speed corner, I'm looking at the car, past the car, I'm just gonna turn. A better reference point will be actually this exit road on the left side, the concrete on the left side. Whenever you will meet it, you will start turning into the corner with 100% throttle. Now you will drop the throttle while going through the corner just for a short amount of time. I'm adding 1% brakes, 4% brakes, and now immediately back on throttle. So it's almost like you're clapping your hands, it's something like this. And then you're going back on throttle. It should be very quick, and then pushing the throttle again. The car should go to the right side, not all the way to the right side, but center right. So you can take this corner flat or almost flat, keeping the throttle pinned. And now again, super important here to get close to this curb. So apex close to the curb, even kiss this curb, touch it a bit with the right tires, keeping the throttle pinned. I don't recommend going more than this on the left side, even though you have a bit more space. But whenever you will turn, because this curb has a bit of height, the car will be a bit lazy to turn, so avoid it. Push the throttle back, apex around the green, and now you just keep the wheel straight. The reference for braking here will be this building around the left side. I don't recommend looking towards the left side whenever you're braking, so just look few moments before that so that you will be prepared. For example, right now, this is a moment to use your vision to look here. Just notice this white building and then switch your vision towards the right side and try in your mind to calculate the moment that you will be at the building. You see, if you will lose time looking left whenever you will turn right, then it will be a bit difficult to do it. So brake at the building, but without looking at the building, your focus will be on the right side. Here you have to trail brake more than you think. So I'm going in for gear and still on the brakes, still on the brakes, still on the brakes, still braking 5%, and then went on throttle. So stay on the brakes up until you rotate the car nicely so that you won't compromise the next corner too much, because if you will arrive all the way to the left side for the next corner, then it's gonna be a bit too much and you will lose time on the exit. So I'm pushing the throttle at this yellow anti-curb. I'm staying 100% throttle again to make the rear a bit oversteery, and then trying to bring it a bit more towards the center. We're still in the center left, that's perfectly fine. You don't want to be in the center right here. Being in center left is perfectly fine. And while taking this corner, just drop the brakes 2%, just drop the throttle 2% on the brakes and then back again. So as you can see, there's a bit of a theme in this track where the inputs are almost like on off, but very quickly. It's something like this. Every time, just drop the throttle a bit on the brakes, then quickly back on throttle. And you have to do this quickly, because if you will trail brake just a bit more, then you will lose in the minimum speed part. And even though you might have, let's say, in the initial entry you might have the right speed, on the exit you will start to lose if you make this gap in between off throttle and on throttle bigger. Going into the next corner can be tricky to be at the limit. So I'm braking after the white line that indicates the 50-meter board. So as you can see here, we have the 50 and we have this white line. Past the white line, like right now, I'm applying the brakes. You don't want to brake very hard here. So you have to imagine that you want to shoot the car deep and carry the speed towards the corner. If you will brake way too hard, you will meet this curve way too early, and whenever you go on throttle, you will understeer on the exit. So what I'm doing here, notice that my car starts to drift towards the center. You want this, but the car has to do it because it has too much speed. You don't want to forcefully with the steering wheel, you just want to naturally arrive here. Now still holding the brakes, trying to bring the car back up, and now going on throttle very aggressively. And it's okay if you hit this curb around here, because you will have enough downforce to take the next two corners flat. So what I would advise here, try to find that minimum brake pressure. This corner right here, it's all about two things actually. Not braking hard, and whenever you're going on throttle, stay on throttle. As you can see here, 0-100 very quickly. Now going into the next two, you have to cut them a lot. They're gonna be flat out and easy corners. And now for the last corner, I was a bit under the limit here on entry. So what I'm using here is the 50, past the 50 I'm braking, but you can brake later than that. So I would encourage you to experiment with a very late braking point here, because the car, and I have to mention this, I'm using Jesper setup again, so check it out in the video description. This is not fixed. So if you're trying on fixed, I think on fixed setup you'll have even more downforce, so you can be even more aggressive here. I assume, because generally fixed is a bit more downforce, and whenever you're going for better setups, such as Jesper's, you will have a bit more straight line speed and also other benefits, but you have to make sure you're using this downforce, so brake late into this corner, long corner again, you have to shoot the car deep. And the reason why I know I was under the limit, first of all on the entry I felt like the car could go a bit quicker, it felt a bit too slow, but also look here, I'm way too much on the inside. You want the car to track out a bit wider. It's similar with the previous corner we talked about. It's exactly the same concept, just that this corner is a bit longer and it also goes downhill a bit more aggressively. So try to brake later, long trail braking zone, as you can notice, still on the brakes, still on the brakes, still braking. And now whenever you go on throttle, stay on throttle, don't hesitate. This is the longest straight of the track, so being aggressive and not modulating the throttle is key. But in short, that's a track guide around Mugello with the Super Formula lights. It's a really nice combo, and I think the racing around here will be great. I hope you learned something, and if you want to accelerate the progress, if you want to improve at a quicker pace, you can check out my sim racing course. It's in the video description. It has around 7 hours worth of content, and I think it will take you to the next level. Thank you for watching, and looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.